Hello everyone, my name is Carlos Pacha. This is group number 5. We're presenting our final project, an e-commerce application called Meals to Go for the CS533 mobile computing class. In this final presentation, we will talk about the project analysis, project design, alternative solution analysis, project progress evaluation, development, integration and testing, evaluation, and future work for our application. Now I will be talking about the project analysis for our e-commerce app. We'll be talking about the project overview, function requirements, and non-functional requirements. For our final project, we are building a e-commerce mobile application that we call Meals to Go. It will allow users to browse through different restaurants in different areas and place online orders using the credit and debit cards. The functional requirements for our e-commerce application will allow users to make an account. It will also use the user information and will also save it. It will choose any location. It will also allow the user to browse through different restaurants in selected areas. Also will allow users to place order using their credit and debit card. It will also allow users to see reviews of the restaurants they are looking for and will also allow users to look at the menu of each restaurant. Now we have the non-functional requirements for our e-commerce application. They are loading time between pages should be less than 3 seconds, or UI UX design should be user friendly, as well as it should be aesthetically pleasing. The application should be free of bugs and it should be available to use 24/7.
Project design. Here, Tushar will be explaining the architecture, then I will be explaining the technologies used, front end, back end, database, and the features.
So we have our navigation, and when our phone comes in, it sends a request, and then the navigation itself kicks in. The navigation has certain features, whether it's restaurants or search or map. So when our feature kicks in, could be restaurants, feature has a context. So we, in other words, have created a restaurant context. So features like the restaurant feature in this case gives the information from the restaurant context. And that is the array of values that contains the restaurant information. But it also enables the context to do something special. So the context is kind of the glue between the feature and the outside world. And we structure this thing called services. And services came with a request and a transform. And the request is the request that we are doing to the outside world to get information, whether it be from Google or elsewhere. In our case, we use Google API Firebase. So it could be any given API, could be anything at all. So the services act as if they are real API calls, and we structure the service in such a way that later, during the implementation of the credit card with an external source, we can just swipe out of the service and layer the request. And then the transform in the context should just take over. So we'll be formulating a request to the external service, and the rest of our infrastructure will just take over as we set it up.
In the next few slides, we will be overviewing the technologies used. Our first technology that we will be going over is React Native. This was the main framework used to develop our application. It was detrimental to us due to the big community. It's used by big companies such as Facebook, Uber Eats, Discord, Instagram, Skype, and many more. It supports big libraries and is cross-platform, which means that it's used both for the Android and the iOS. The next technology used is Expo CLI. This is used as a framework to develop React Native application. It makes developing apps easier by allowing you to directly test apps on your physical device. All changes being made to the app can be seen directly on your phone or computer. Next is Android Studio. We used an Android emulator that allows developing applications on Windows operating systems. We used the AVD manager within Android Studio to create an Android emulator, and this was used with Expo CLI. For the back end part of our application, we ended up using Google's Firebase. Within Firebase, we used as the authenticator for a user's account in the main database. We used it to process user payments using Firebase functions. It provided us with API key, auth domain, project ID, storage bucket, messaging sender ID, and app ID. Next up is Visual Studio Code. Within this, it was used as the main text editor, the code understanding and navigation, code refactoring, and it had an easy terminal layout. Lastly, Yarn, the package manager software that allowed us to run React Native locally on our computers. It allows for safe, stable, and reproducible projects. Need to install Node.js to be able to install and use Yarn. Node.js was also an option here to use. However, Yarn is the faster option since it's more safe and easier to use. It's also recommended by Facebook.
My name's Cody Kinney, and I'll be doing the alternative solution analysis covering what alternative solutions were available, the pros and the cons of the app. What alternative solutions are available? Alternatively, the application could have been developed in Android native platforms, not cross-platforms. Native platforms mean that platforms focus solely on certain types of operating systems, which in our case is Android. For this, our options included developing the application on Android Studio and using Node.js as a packet manager. Pros as compared to React Native. There was a better UI or UX experience targeted towards the native users. Along with this, there was better performance in certain aspects of the app. The app is more secure for users to use, and you were able to interact with other native applications. Cons as compared to React Native. There was a longer development time for the app. There would be an increased mobile app cost of up to 30% more as compared to React Native. The app would have been less scalable. App maintenance is far more tedious and time consuming. And the app would also not have been cross-platform.
Hi, my name is Neda and I will be presenting the project progress evaluation part of the presentation. I will be presenting the challenge and risk we faced while developing the application and what solutions were available to us. Let's take a look at challenge and risk. To start with, there were many errors that would show up, especially when we would run the application in the CLI. Sometimes the dependencies would be needed and it took lots of researching to find the correct ones. Also, since the app is focused toward both iOS and Android, we weren't sure as to what UI or UX to go with. In other risk part, I would say we need to make sure the application is running on both operating system and any minor errors in testing phase could lead to detrimental results. In this slide, I'm going to talk about the solutions. For coding errors, Stack Overflow and GitHub proved to be the best resources. And for researching about different features and how to execute them, the official types of frameworks were extremely useful. And for labor distribution and development updates, team members met via Discord once in 2 weeks to discuss the progress of the project.
Development. In order to better explain the process and in order to make this presentation a little bit shorter, I thought it would be best if I explained everything in a YouTube video. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this YouTube link that's going to show us the developmental process. And to begin with, our major development has for our application has happened in VS Code. It has a main app.js, the main file, and all of the other components, including the features and everything else, have been carefully refined separately in different files. For example, we have functions, source, source as the main source code. We have different components, animations, favorites. If the user wants to favorite anything, possibly, I don't know, possibly a restaurant. We got spacers, typography, utility, infrastructure, how the navigation and everything. So all of this was first developed into app.js, and once everything starts coming around, we started putting them into different proper structurized version. Otherwise, this app.js would have been thousands of lines of code. A really important thing to pay attention here is that all these API keys, auth, domain, project ID, storage bucket, and everything else has been rendered from Google Firebase. So this is our main project, and this is the Firebase. There's my project for authentication. All of this, if you go at the settings here, project settings, all this information has been given to us by the Google Firebase. So if I want to run this project, what I'm going to do is I first have to run yarn and start. I also have to turn on my Android emulator from Android Studio, because how Yarn works, it allows us to either open our application on a physical device, but in this case I'm going to go ahead and do Android. So I'll press A, and it's opening on Android. Set opening now. So if I click on this is my main application. If I want to log in, I can log in. It allows me to log in. And I was trying to log in earlier through the email address that I already registered in. That's why it won't let me log in. But that is it. Everything has been done in React Native majority. At the backend, hey guys, my name is Tushar, and I will be covering the integration and testing phase of our presentation. Test case 1. Users must be able to make an account. So during the testing purposes, one of our main functional requirement was that the user should be able to register into the account. So as you will see in these two pictures, it is a proof that on the left picture, me, Tushar Saini, I signed up using my Southeast email address, I signed up with passwords, and when I clicked on register, all that information went in and registered me as a user in the Google Firebase database. Moving on, we have test case 2. Here we tested that the user must be able to save their information. If anybody is logging into our application, we wanted them to be able to save their information. On the left-hand side, you will see that I'm already registered as a user. I'm now registering it for the first time. I'm already registered before, and I'm using a different email address over here, and that is CS533. Once I log in, all my information, including the payments, past orders, and everything will be logged in here. Test case 3. Must allow users to browse to different restaurants in the selected area. So for this test, we chose the example of San Francisco. The users have two options. They can either use the Google map, and we have achieved this through geocoding, or they can either just search whatever location they want to search up in the tab, in the search bar on the right hand picture. So once we click on San Francisco, it gives us all the restaurants, renders all the restaurants from the foodsource.com, and it also shows you the reviews of the restaurants. So that is it. We were successfully able to demonstrate this case as well. Test case 4 must allow users to use their credit or debit card information for placing orders. So in this case, we have Zimin Cafe on the first picture. We were successfully able to incorporate the Stripe information from their credit card using the Firebase functions that were offered by Google. So on the first picture, it tells the total order of the user, the total amount. The user enters his credit card information. In this case, I've just done a hypothetical name, MO. And if you were able to, if then all the information is correct, on the second picture, you will see that the device is loading. And if all the information is correct, then it successfully places an order and the card is empty. I ran out of the space to include more pictures here, but once the order is successfully done, the card goes empty and the amount goes back to zero. Test case 5 must allow users to look at the menu of the restaurant. Again, we take the example of Zen Cafe. So a user has a lot of options. There are four fragments: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and drinks. And on top of it, each restaurant also offers a special. So the users also have an option to choose a special menu from whatever restaurant they're picking up. Implementation. This application will be used like existing services such as DoorDash, Uber Eats, etc. It is an application that is secure for consumers to conveniently order and receive consumables through the tap of a button. Through this, we will promise that the customer data is safe within our application, thus creating consumer trust.
Hi, this is Neda again, and I want to present the overall evaluation of our application developmental process. To begin with, I think we did a great job with overall design of the application. For development, the group communicated effectively and was able to develop the application in a timely manner. For integration and testing, we gave that a 7 score out of 10 because there was just not enough time to test for every little thing. Therefore, more time was needed for this. Lastly, the application runs perfectly and has a good use in the real world. As our future work, I would say our plan is incorporating machine learning into our application, which will allow application to suggest restaurant based upon users order and search history. And the second one is adding the camera feature to allow user to use their camera to take their profile pictures. And the last one is adding multiple order feature, which will allow user to add orders from more than one restaurant into the checkout menu.